video, ne hanno anche uno di sistema per le conferenze, quindi per il remoto tout court, però oggi ci presenteranno questo loro sistema basato più sul video. Yannis, over to you.
Yannis, over to you. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yannis Haratsis, and we will be presenting Katalava, a video simultaneous remote interpretation platform, one of the very first among our colleagues and competitors in the world. We are very surprised as conference interpreters, being a conference interpreter myself since 1986. I was with the European Commission, the SKIC, and then as a permanent freelancer, if such a thing does exist, in the Greek booth of the Court of Justice in Luxembourg. Very surprised that the day would come that a conference ending ahead of schedule would provoke such a confusion to us. But thank you, Marcia, because we've lived that, and thank you for organizing all the logistics. It's been wonderful. And I will immediately answer to a colleague who has been saying that it would be nice to have hybrid solutions. And today you are having a hybrid solution, since with one booth and two colleagues that I want to thank, of course, because thanks to them we have been able to follow all the questions in Italian. We are having a conference right now in 3 languages with only one booth and 2 interpreters on site and 1 interpreter remotely, Nelly. Because Nelly will be interpreting, because English is my C language, so you will allow me to continue in Greek. So thanks AIC Italia. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ την AIC Ιταλίας καταρχάς.
I would like to thank very warmly AIC Italia for having this, for taking this initiative, because from what I know, it is one of the first AIC regions that undertook such an initiative, unless if there have been cases that I do not know of. I believe that it was high time for such an important organization to understand, to realize that this time, all these efforts undertaken by technology so far, this time they have matured. Now, internet has improved a great deal. Now, the organizers, the COs, have understood that technology plays a very, very important role for organizing conferences. And this is why we can talk, and I am challenging you at this point. We can talk about a subversive technology, a disruptive technology that compels us all, as conference interpreters as well, to rethink the way we are doing our job. And I'm saying this, the notion of domicile, of professional domicile, is obsolete, I think, because technology brings all the countries of the world in a single market, whether we want it or not, whether we like it or not. The cost that many colleagues and many competitors talked about and presented as an important factor for the dissemination of this technology is just one factor. There are very many other reasons that this technology will spread. I am convinced about it. First of all, the flexibility that it gives to PCOs. You don't need to have booths. Therefore, a conference hall or a room can become very fast into something different, something which is very important for those who manage complex conferences without having a lot of space. It will also help regional tourism. In the regions of our countries where there are very interesting things to see and where conference tourism could expand, there are not necessarily very many conference venues such as we have in big cities, such as Milan, for instance. This will be a great advantage. For instance, for a series of small Greek islands that are very well known, for instance, Mykonos, which has Delos next door, in order to organize conferences of 100 or 200 people. That cannot be something that cannot be done today because the necessary infrastructure is not there. I want to add another advantage that I have not heard of. Maybe it was mentioned because I was absent for about an hour. It is the issue of the handicaps of various people. I have not heard about conference interpreters who have disabilities, motor disabilities. Nowadays, this technology allows to these people, if they so wish, to become conference interpreters. Apart from that, apart from disabilities or handicaps in the sense of physical handicaps, there are also all the other difficulties and weaknesses. For instance, young mothers. We have a colleague who has given birth and who, of course, would like for some months or weeks, depends, this is a personal choice, to be with her baby. There are people who, for professional reasons, are away. These people can participate and continue their job. There are also people who need to take care of their elderly parents. They can also work remotely. And this is true both for interpreters and any other participant. And this is very important. The young high guy with the Aston Martin who went skiing and broke his leg, he can very easily have a business conversation with his partner in Shanghai or elsewhere through video conference. This is very well known. And this is proven by how much the video conference market has developed. Now it can develop with simultaneous interpretation as well. The most important thing is, I think, how different we are. When I was a young boy, I was very proud because in the airports we recognized someone and we were saying this one is an interpreter. And it happened sometimes that this was confirmed. Today, to do away with a standard form is something that will be beneficial to all of us, I think. And I think that we need to respect and we need to thank our luck that there are so many different people. One of the first colleagues who was interested in Catalava was an elderly lady from Turkey, an excellent colleague, une grande dame of interpretation, who asked me to do a test. So we sent her the instructions that we considered as quite simple, quite straightforward, password, etc. And then you need to choose your position because this is the screen that you see for the tests. It's not the commercial operation where you have just a token. Her reaction was, I've been doing this job for more than 40 years. I'm accustomed to pressing the on-off button. Whenever you want to, I am at your disposal. I was quite sad not to be able to work with her, and I was also sad not to be able to go to Istanbul to meet her and to show her myself how it works. But do you really believe that this reduces my respect vis-à-vis this colleague? Why should we respect less young colleagues who were video gamers and who have spent thousands of hours in front of their screens? I guess that most of you do not fall in this category, but there are people who are in this category. Therefore, and I come to a point that was mentioned this morning, some people will get tired if they have to work many hours in front of a computer screen. This is true. Some others will get tired a bit less. What is important is to accept our differences and to accept how much such a technology can help the people who want to use it. This does not reduces the importance, the value of those who do not wish to use this technology. And I want to clarify something very, very clearly, in a very straightforward manner. Although this idea was mine, and I developed it with the assistance of Nelly, the interpreter, and two other people who were in the business part, I believe that the best way for conferences to be held is the traditional one, the on-the-spot interpretation. If we raise issues of quality, issues of participation, energy, etc., of course, we have every reason to be in the conferences, even if it were for the cocktails or for the swimming pool. But it is not just that. There are other realities. And it is to these parameters that the new technologies respond. The cost, not only. The advantages, not only. Not just that. When we are talking about disruptive technology, when we say that things change, no one knows where they will be led, where things will go and how much they will change. What I believe is that this technology will face very strong reactions, not just from conference interpreters, not just from interpreters who do not like this technology, as Mr. Flerov is, whereas Mr. Olsen is a fervent admirer of this technology. This is understood because they undertake a risk when they work with the internet. A colleague asked a question about security issues, and I have to say two things. The first issue that we come across with customers is confidentiality. We know that as interpreters, the experienced customers know about these issues, whereas here we have to convince that conference interpreters are people that you can trust, people who happen to work under these conditions for so many years. There is also the issue of internet security. There are algorithms. We have the best possible commercially available algorithms that ensure that an accidental hacker can break into and follow a discussion. Of course, telecom engineers with whom you might discuss, they will tell you, as I have happened to discuss that it is very, very easy for an organized team to hit the optical fiber between Europe and the US and have access to the source. I do not know how they will solve the problem of the algorithm. I'm not a hacker, and I believe that NSA, Mossad, or any other intelligence service, if they so wish, they will be able to follow. But this happens everywhere. It happens in conference halls, it happens in offices, it happens in bedrooms. So I do not believe that this is the greatest problem per se. But it is indeed an additional reason for which the market structure will not change for many years to come. There will be new markets opening up, but the main structures of the market, my personal view is that they will stay more or less, grosso modo, the same until something else comes up. Robotic participants who speak 300 languages at the same time and who will be the representatives of the real participants. We do not know the future. It is uncertain. And I say we, and I mean all these platforms, and we, as interpreters, we do not know it. And most probably no one knows for sure. What is certain, what is for sure, is that things change. And I was very happy to hear a colleague saying at the discussion about the hubs, saying that if we do not undertake some initiatives ourselves, we as conference interpreters, someone else will do. And I would like to thank her very warmly for that, because this is exactly our philosophy. We moved along this direction, that is the direction of developing this platform together with IT engineers, because we do not want to have big agencies, as we know that there are in Europe, agencies that would control this whole market. In Greece, the interpretation market, the structure, is what this colleague called as groupement d'interprètes. Such a groupement d'interprètes is such an agency, a secretariat I coordinate for 25 years now. And I knew that we would not wish to suffer the pressure that other markets have suffered. I was discussing it with some colleagues from the UK recently, and they have seen some major changes in the UK market exactly due to the agencies. But this is known to all, so I will not go into that. What is also very interesting, and this is why I have been following this day, and the thank you that I addressed to AIC Italy was not a formal thank you. I heard it with great interest, and it confirmed what I have been hearing from colleagues, from customers, and it confirmed it, how different these platforms are. They are not at all the same. They do not have the same advantages. We hope that we will be able to offer maybe the best average among the solutions proposed. Because what you see here is just one sub-solution. There are other solutions, but I will come back to that a bit later on. So these differentiations among the platforms are very interesting, and I think that Marcia had prepared an excellent transparency about the practical advice to any of you who would wish to use this platform. I thought this transparency was excellent, and I want to add that we, for instance, we do not have an app. This is not an app. The entry, the access is done through the browser, which makes the platform safer and also lighter, as it were, in its use. I heard a colleague saying before about a minimum 2 megabps per up, download and upload. It has worked with 400 kilobps excellently if it is stable. And during all this time, I did not have the time to have an Ethernet cable. I'm speaking through a simple Wi-Fi, but this has not created any problem. Anyway, what is interesting, I think, is to see specific things. And we call upon the colleagues to see for themselves, if they so wish, to see how it works. And this is why we ask you to send a simple email or a message, whatever, that will allow us to start working together. This, what I'm going to show you now, is the Greek People's Management Association conference. And here you see the solution, which is, again, hybrid. I'm going to show you a picture, and there is a laptop, and the picture, the image is disseminated through the technician's console. So we have a collaboration with the AV company. I hope that you are able to see it. This is the forum. This is the platform. And this is the web page. And this is the interpreter's console. We have tried for this console to be as simple as possible and to be similar to the booth console. We have the A and B channels, the off, the all, and there is also an interesting procedure for swapping positions with the colleague who is in the background waiting to switch positions. And of course, there are various ways to swap positions, not just that. These are our mails and the website, and we call upon any colleague who is interested to send us an email so as to try in practice the platform, to see how it works in real time, and to discuss, of course, anything that you would find interesting to discuss. A question that is often raised to us is, why should the interpreter be on the screen? And I would like to comment on that. I believe that it is very important in a business meeting to have the interpreter on board, that is, on the screen. Imagine that we feel better when we see the speaker and when we listen to him at the same time. But the same is true for the audience, for the speaker. The speaker, the customer, understands better what the interpreter is saying when he sees the interpreter. My personal experience is that each time we have managed to have a very satisfactory consecutive interpretation, and thank God we have managed quite often, the customers are much happier than with the simple simultaneous interpretation. I know, and you know, of course, all of you, the big discussion that has, the big debate after the Nuremberg trials about how interpretation will be destroyed. They put the interpreters behind a glass, and the interpreter is no more in the middle of the famous baignoire of the UN Security Council, with the mythical names of colleagues who were painting on the ceiling, and then during the interpretation they were just looking at the ceiling and reading their notes. Of course, these are legendary names. So when they suddenly put them in a booth, they went crazy. They thought that it was the end of the world. Instead of being the protagonists on the podium, they suddenly disappeared behind a booth. So I think that now is the time for the interpreters to avenge themselves. The fact that we can see the interpreter in the same way as you can see the interpreter now puts the interpreter back on the table. Imagine a business meeting between two CEOs and the interpreter in the middle. Of course, if you have a psychological issue, you can also make yourself disappear. The possibility exists. But I believe that these platforms are a hybrid pattern, a hybrid scheme between consecutive and simultaneous interpretation, which is very interesting for bringing back the interpreter in the middle of the discussions. And I believe that this is very important. Now the interpreter has disappeared, has hidden herself. Very important things have been discussed. Very interesting things were discussed, and I am deeply sorry for not being able to be there with you face to face. But I think that we will have the opportunity to fill in these gaps that I have left open for the discussion. I did not refer to the technical issues because you have already discussed them, and whoever is interested and whoever wants to try the platform, I think it will be more topical to see them on the spot. Let me finish by saying what a colleague said at some point, that maybe we should see how we can have a relationship with the PCOs and the AV tech companies and the agencies, because all this is not clear, because there are some overlappings. And she finished by saying, she said, maybe I'm a bit too old to take the initiative. Well, frankly, I am much older, and I did not have a problem to take the initiative. It just needs enthusiasm, and this all this endeavor opened up the door to new colleagues, because we have had the great chance to establish a network of 150 colleagues all over the world. Some of them are older interpreters, some of them are younger colleagues, and all this information and the enthusiasm, especially coming from younger colleagues, has been really very, very rejuvenating and revitalizing for an old interpreter as myself. So just now we have had the opportunity to have a conference with 1 booth and 3 languages. I think this shows the flexibility that this technology offers. But I will be happy to take any questions that you might have. Thank you very much.
Marcia, could you push on the small arrows in order to show the full screen as we did it yesterday?
Like this?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
That's another solution.
Okay. Before we
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
The disposition on a phone is vertical, so you don't need to use those arrows. You can
Okay.
use them on a laptop if you want to have a full screen with the other participants.
Okay. Before we open up for questions, I've just been informed by reasonably well-informed colleagues that I mispronounced your name, which is not Catalava, but Catalava. Is that correct? And it means I
Katalava.
understood in Greek.
Yes, I
Is that
got it. I understood.
okay? So sorry
But
about this.
You missed the main
well,
one.
you must be
Don't
kidding.
worry, Marcia.
The idea of choosing Katalava is the existence of all those A's that makes it quite easy for many people and in many languages.
Ok, ci sono domande? Prego.
Innanzitutto complimenti, sono molto contenta di vedere una soluzione che invece di condannarci sempre di più all'invisibilità ci rende visibili come interpreti. Perché questa soluzione mi ricorda molto la consecutiva, cioè tu guardi l'interprete, vedi come lavora, apprezzi lo sforzo e quindi sei anche disposto a pagare i soldi che ti chiede, perché non è solo una voce anonima, ma è una persona che lavora. Questo mi piace molto. Per quanto riguarda, allora, mi hanno spiegato, io avevo fatto questa esperienza con Interprify in un lavoro dove mi hanno spiegato che il video dell'interprete non c'è perché così si risparmia a banda. Cioè io devo solo trasmettere l'audio, quindi per me è meno impegnativo, cioè devo avere meno capacità, meno banda per l'upload. Voi avete detto che lavorate anche con una banda molto più piccola, evitando un'app. Però le persone che seguono possono usare il cellulare o devono avere, cioè gli ascoltatori devono avere il laptop o possono seguire la conferenza con il cellulare?
Thank you for your question. My Italian is a D language, actually, but I got the essence of your question. So the answer to your last question, using the smartphone, yes, no problem. And it's even better sometimes. I prefer to use my smartphone sometimes. But you have to find a way not to move it all the time because the camera is moving with your hand. Otherwise, it's absolutely workable like that, operational like that. Concerning the bandwidth,
We lost you, Yannis. Yannis, can you hear us? We lost you.
so we are not developers, we are interpreters, and we asked our developers not to do the maximum, but to do the minimum in terms of simplicity, in terms of bandwidth necessity, and in terms of usability. And this is the result. But I have to add that this is only one sub-solution. We have other solutions. Another solution, we are calling it, the code name is one-to-one. We have one-to-two, one-to-three, two-to-three. We have a meeting facilitator, which allows either to have 6 people simultaneously on screen and the interpreter of the person who has the floor and the chairperson. This is 8. This is quite demanding uh, on an internet basis, but in terms of bandwidth, but it's working even with 1 megabyte per second.
Altre domande?
È possibile vedere su video qui il dispositivo che vedono gli interpreti? Perché purtroppo non abbiamo avuto accesso da qui e mi sarebbe piaciuto molto vedere quello che vedono gli interpreti, il dispositivo, nel senso che poco fa ce l'ha fatto vedere ma era in piccolo, quindi si è fatto un po' fatica a capire com'era l'interfaccia interprete.
Can we see the interpreter's interface? The one that you showed to us earlier on, but it was a very small image. Can you show us the interpreter's console or interface? I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, good, good. Oops.
Just give him 1 second. I
Okay,
think that he
no.
had some issue.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. You're back.
Thank you. I have announced that I would disconnect and reconnect from my smartphone, and I'm speaking now from my smartphone.
All right.
I don't know if you had the time to hear that I would disconnect because I was a bit too fast. I was trying to do it very fast. I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
So that was not a technical glitch. It was only me trying to switch devices.
Okay.
So I
Yannis,
was saying that
you did not hear the question. There was a colleague who asked for another presentation of the console. They could not see the console very well when you presented it, so they asked for a repetition of this small transparency.
actually, it's a photography that is not very clear. But any colleague that would like to see the test will see not only this part of the console, but the full functionality. You only have to write to Nelly, and she will determine with you whenever you have 15 minutes. We can connect, and you can work as an interpreter. You can work on the console for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or as long or as short as you want, and we can discuss any particular matter that remains after this discussion. So I was saying that there is a second solution, the meeting facilitator, either with those 8 people, either with many, many people, and you can always see the chairperson, the person who has the floor, and the interpreter. And everybody has the possibility to ask for the floor, and then the chairperson can either leave the floor open or to attribute it to whomever he wants every time. So this resolves the problem of the participation of everybody in a room. If everybody has a smartphone, he can speak after asking for the floor to the chairperson. The third solution is the conference hall magnifier, and this is specific for small conferences. The examples that have been given, for instance, at the very last minute, a small delegation comes from a country with 2 people, and the organizer does not want to pay for an extension of the booths and so on and so forth. And the fourth solution is something like a webinar specifically designed for newsrooms, uh, TV stations, and big newspapers, because when something is happening worldwide, they can give us a feed from a local TV or a local radio, and we can uh, interpret for the newsroom what is happening now before CNN, BBC, and all the majors, Reuters, have the time to send a reporter on site. So those are the 4 solutions. But the idea is that every time everybody participating can ask for the floor, he has his interpreter, and that at all times we can see at least the chairperson, the interpreter, the working interpreter, and the person who has the floor. Not, of course, all the rest of the 200 or 300 or 400 participants, if we're talking about the conference hall magnifier. So, I'm sorry I took a bit more of your time, but that was in order to explain the other solutions as well. Unfortunately, could not show it everything today. It could be uh, uh, quite difficult in terms of logistics.
C'è tempo per un'ultimissima domanda. Prego.
A very simple question. Smart Connect, besides connect and disconnect, what is the Smart Connect button for?
A very simple answer. If you want to test your upload and download speed, there are specific applications that do that extremely easily. But in order to allow for some colleagues that do not want to read all the instructions in detail, we put this button, and this button is automatically checking if your internet, your bandwidth is sufficient. Otherwise, it can stop the video flow and allows only the sound to go through in order to do your job.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Hey.
No other questions? I've
No.
not been provocative enough.
Maybe. So thank you, Yanis, and thank you, Nelly, for this excellent presentation, for your patience. Thank you for all the other testing the other day. Thank you. Okay.
Really, thank
To
you
be here.
very,
Thank
very
you.
much. And I was very glad to meet you all. And I hope we meet on site, next to the pool,
Thank you,
with a
Marcia.
cocktail. Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Siamo arrivati alla fine di questa maratona che pareva un po' interminabile questa mattina, ma ce l'abbiamo fatta, insomma siamo arrivati al termine. Secondo me un po' il succo della questione, al di là di tutte le tecnologie che abbiamo visto, delle soluzioni, sia che ci siano piaciute o no, è un po' il fatto che, almeno nel mio caso, riscalda il cuore quando tra colleghi AIC si riesce a collaborare così bene, sia in apertura questa mattina sia la sera ci siamo interfacciati con dei colleghi AIC ed è bello vedere anche la collaborazione tra regioni diverse. Noi di AIC Italia ci teniamo tantissimo a collaborare con le altre regioni di AIC e vogliamo continuare a farlo. Credo che oggi sia stato un ottimo esempio da questo punto di vista. E poi chiaramente abbiamo piantato un seme importante, che è quello di iniziare a capire un po' come funzionano queste nuove tecnologie. Arriviamo alla fine, non vi tedio oltre, è d'obbligo chiaramente fare tutti i ringraziamenti del caso alla scuola nuovamente per averci ospitato, a Pietro Schenone, quindi al suo direttore, a Fulvia Tassini che ci ha supportato tantissimo nella fase iniziale, che purtroppo oggi non poteva essere con noi. Chiaramente direi un applauso enorme a Verso per il supporto tecnico che è... Non da ultimo chiaramente i colleghi in cabina che si sono alternati nella turnazione. E soprattutto anche chi ci ha seguito in remoto oggi, che noi non abbiamo visto, ma loro hanno visto noi, quindi tutti i colleghi collegati in web streaming nei 2 canali. Ci sono arrivati nel frattempo numerosi feedback, devo dire abbastanza positivi, quindi siamo contenti che ci abbiano seguito anche a distanza. E poi anche tutta la commissione comunicazione di AIC, a Giovanna, a Gabriella, a Raffaella Marchese che oggi non c'è, Cristina Finotti, perché chiaramente dietro a tutta questa macchina c'è tutta la commissione comunicazione. E un grazie ad AIC Italia e a Stefano Marrone che ha fortemente voluto questa iniziativa e aveva ragione. Grazie.
Siamo stati tutti dietro, ma tu sei stata avanti, perché senza di te questa cosa non avrebbe mai potuto essere fatta. Quindi grazie e tanti complimenti.
Prego, grazie.